Alright, hello everyone. Um, well, today we are going to learn how to create trees in Maya using pen stroke from Wiser. I'm I'm sure many people are familiar with this stuff. So before going into main stuff, I wanna show you something which is rather very important to before we render anything. And while we are lighting applying materials, we have to understand that Maya has something called linear workflow. So before we go into any details with creating trees and hypershade materials, textures, I want to show you what a linear workflow is if you're not familiar with it. And if you are, you can skip this part, of course. So let's start. So before we do anything in Maya, I wanna what I wanna do is I want to create a simple scene. So I'm just going to create a simple plane which is fairly big enough, and I want to create one simple polygon cube, and I'm going to keep it maybe 100, and I'm going to create one sphere and maybe 10 or 50. That's all I want to do at the moment. And okay, one more thing, I'm just gonna make it smooth. And to this cube, I'm going to apply bevel. Three segments maybe, so that it looks better when we render. And I'm gonna make my plane a little bigger, so maybe 1500. That's big enough. I'm going to create a new project. So whenever you want to create new project, make sure you, if you don't know, just go in File, Project Window, and make sure you select the folder in which your project folder will be created, and click New. And I'm just gonna say maybe Maya. Okay, let me think of a name. Maybe okay, Flora 101. Flora, nature, green. So accept, and I'm going to save. So if you save, it will directly go into that particular folder where we have created, and I'm gonna name this. So I'm gonna say one linear workflow and just save. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, we need light in our scene, so I'm gonna go in render settings and I'm gonna put physical scene and sky. So go here. Now to use physical scene and sky, you have to make sure that you are in mental ray. If you don't have mental ray loaded, sometimes you won't see mental ray in here. All you have to do is go to window, then go to settings and preferences and plugin manager, and in here you will find Maya to MR, and you just have to click on this both. Now in previous versions you won't find this separate. You have to go through this list and find Maya to MR, this name in here, and just have to click load and load it and auto load. That's simple, that's how simple it is. So close it, and I'm going to select mental ray. Now once you select mental ray, you will see these tabs. Okay, now here you have to go into indirect lighting, and in here what you have to do is go to physical sun and sky and create. Once you create, you will see, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but you will see, okay, let me just do it again so that you can understand better. See, by default you will see this particular option is grayed out, so when we are not using this, it will be by default, it will be like this. And you will have different settings by default. I have modified this. I'll show you how it works. um so what I'm gonna do is, okay, just go to physical scene and sky, create. It will create and it will turn this on. Okay, by default this is 100, this is around like 1, this is I think 20 or something, and this is 0. You can keep these settings. Okay, these settings are better if you want to see your renders faster, like they will render faster. Whatever you see, it will render faster. It won't affect quality much, as long as you're fine with uh, you're not rendering final image. Okay, if you want to go into final image, you can increase the settings, but right now I'm keeping this, okay, so that we can render faster. Anyway, so moving on. So once you create this, sometimes you won't see the light. You can see that light, direction light has opened here. This is basically sun and sky. So sometimes you won't find it, so simply go into outliner and look for sun direction, select it, scale it, and it doesn't matter how much you scale, it won't affect your light intensity. The only thing we have to worry about is its rotation. Rotation actually affects your light, its intensity, and pretty much everything connected to this. So even the position, it does not matter. So for example, I'll just keep it like this. It was like how it was. Okay, I'm just gonna bookmark. You can, if you click on this particular button, it will bookmark the camera. So if I have to work around, if I have to go like this, see my scene, and I want to render what I was looking before, I just have to right click here and it will set that camera to what I want to render. So okay, now what I'll do, I'll just simply render. So render it, and you can see it rendered. Okay, and we have light. Some one more thing I'm gonna do is, before you render anything, just go into common tab, render options, and turn this off. We don't want the default light. Also, I'm going to keep this HD 720. I have a wide resolution, so I'm gonna make sure I'm using wide and keep this on. And I think, yeah, that's all I need at the moment. And I'm going to render it one more time. I'm letting you see this render so that you will get the idea how much time it takes. Usually on my PC it takes roughly 3 seconds, because we don't really have anything. 2 seconds, okay, 2 seconds actually. So I'm gonna save that. Now you see, I told you that if you change rotation, if you change the orientation of this light, it will actually change your atmosphere and lighting in the scene. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep my sun. I'm gonna call this sun, so this is like the sun is coming from here somewhere. So I'm gonna keep it really low, on lower elevation, and render it again. And there you go, see. So I'm sure you know what I mean. Whenever we adjust that light, let me keep it like this. So that's how it works. It's pretty simple once you get the idea how it works. So I think I'm gonna save this one. And okay, so let's move on. And okay, so what is linear workflow, right? We have to check that. Okay, now just give me a minute. Okay, now before we move on, I want to make sure that I apply proper materials to my objects. Okay, now by default our objects have Lambert, which is my default, and I don't want to use Lambert. We can actually use Lambert, apply linear workflow to this, and move on. But I don't want to use that because it does not give you very realistic output. I mean, materials does not give any, realistic result, to be more precise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select an object. I'm going to apply a material, which is mental ray materials, which are MIA. So I'm gonna select and right click on it, and I'm gonna say assign new material. And in here you can see there are so many materials. I have V-Ray, so it shows V-Ray materials. But I want to go in mental ray materials, and in here I'm gonna find something called MIA material X. Okay, you can use MIA material also. Right now it's not gonna make much difference, so but I'm using X right now. So apply, and I have applied this material to ground, so I'm gonna rename it. So I'm gonna say ground, and I'm gonna say MIA. Okay, MIA, that is MIA material. You can also, give this name MIA match material. So it's totally up to you how you want to rename your objects, but make sure you always rename them. Make sure there is a name to your object and your materials. So, make sure you have that. And material attributes. Okay, I'm gonna do the same to this. So materials, find MIX, apply. So sphere, MIA, matte, and assign new material, MIX, and where is it? MIX, cube, MIA, matte. Okay, so once we have applied it, let's render. Now this was our last render with Lambert material applied. Now let's see how it looks with the MIA X. You can see, we can see reflections and the sun in here, shadows. I think if we compare, this material has better output, but we won't see that right away, what I mean. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select ground and go to material attributes, and right now we are not going to look all these attributes and all these parameters in detail. I'm just gonna do some settings. So I'm gonna put this to 0.1, and maybe glossiness is 0.35, and reflectivity to maybe 0.5, and I'm gonna turn on ambient occlusion and hit color bleed. Well, the only thing we have to worry about at the moment, while we are checking right now, is linear workflow. So we have to worry about this color property. Okay, right now I'm not gonna change color, not color of ground. I'm gonna change color of this object. So I'm gonna go on material attributes and change settings. So I don't want this object very glossy, so I'm gonna decrease glossiness to maybe 0.7, and my reflectivity to maybe 0.85. I don't want it rough, and I'm gonna give it a color, maybe blue, and my cube, I'm gonna make it less reflective, maybe 0.5, and it should be less glossy, so maybe 0.4. Okay, and I also want to turn on ambient occlusion for both, but make sure with color bleed is on, and also this one. Symmetrical attributes with color bleed on. Okay, now that we have done our settings, I'm just going to render it out. Keep image and render, and you can see I have done some settings and it looks better than before. if you know what I mean. Okay. um but when you look at this particular sphere, and if you compare the color we have applied even in here, if I go here and color, if you compare, it doesn't even look similar. Okay, so for that we have to use gamma correction, or otherwise you're, in simple words, if you don't use gamma correction, it will expose your textures, it will make your colors look like they're washed out. So you don't want that. It won't look good, it won't look beautiful. So to do that, what you have to do is simply go into material attributes, go to color. Okay, and you can see this checker box here. Just click on here and look for utilities. In utilities you have to find something called gamma correction, and we have gamma correct. Click, and in here just apply the color you want, and in value, in gamma, you have to put this value, see, 0.454 in here. Okay, so RGB has value of 0.454 each. And now if I render, there's definitely a difference and it looks physically accurate. So I'm sure you know what I mean. So let's do this one more time. Let's do this for ground. Now color, click here, utilities, gamma correct, select the color. I think it had this color, maybe this, and use that 0.454. do the same for this. Maybe I want this box to be red, I guess, orange red. Okay, make sure you have this color in the recents, and then simply go here, utilities, gamma correct, 0.454, and simply select the color and see the render. And that's how it works. Even ground is now color corrected, and it's actually gamma corrected, and it looks much better than before. So this is how it works. So gamma correcting your color and your textures is basically part of linear workflows. That's linear workflow. So keep that in mind, that whenever you are going to render anything in Mental Ray, and when you're using physical scene and sky or any lighting, make sure you're using gamma correction and using linear workflow. So that's it for this chapter, and in next chapter we are going to see how to create grass. Okay, how we are going to create grass using pen strokes. So have a nice day, and I'll see you in next chapter.